Hello, my name's Simon Davies. My company name is Hot Water and Central Heating Limited. We're based in the UK. Many of my customers ask us why there isn't a user guide for Evohome, the Honeywell zoning system, on the internet. We get a strong impression that they really like a guide, maybe a YouTube video, where they can see how to operate the thing that they've bought, that we might have installed or someone else might have installed. So this is our attempt at trying to demystify Evohome for those that either have the product or are considering purchasing it. So one of the first things we need to look at when we're doing an Evohome is the scheduling. Now, I tend to talk about this as if it's a diary, just to confuse everyone. So we're going to have a look at my diary now and set up some settings for a zone on Evohome, and we're going to make some settings for the master bedroom because that's where we normally start. So we're going to choose a Monday. It seems like a good place to start. And we're going to choose our master bedroom. So on Monday, we're going to do our settings for the master bedroom. Now, most of us, we're going to assume we'll get up about 8 o'clock, which would be nice on Monday. So there's 8 o'clock. We need to really think about what temperature we'd like the bedroom to be, but I'm going to help you there. I like it to be about 20 degrees centigrade. So at 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to make my bedroom 20 degrees centigrade. I'm going to assume that I've got out of my bedroom by 9 o'clock in the morning, and there's no point in heating it to an occupational temperature thereafter, so I'm going to make it 11 degrees centigrade at 9 o'clock. Now, what time do I get back to my bedroom? Well, I might get back to my bedroom at 8 o'clock on Monday, so 8 o'clock on Monday, I'm going to warm it up again to 20 degrees centigrade, and then by 11 o'clock I would have gone to bed, and I'm going to set a temperature of 8 degrees centigrade overnight. So between the hours of 9 o'clock and 7:30 there, everything's going to run at 11 degrees centigrade throughout the day. And what that means is that I'm going to lose very little heat from my bedroom that I've had to pay the gas company or the oil company to create. So by running my temperature down when I'm not in my bedroom, I'm saving money, and I could usefully use that energy somewhere else in the house. So looking at my Evohome, and this is a Mark II Evohome, you may have a Mark III, which is otherwise known as Evohome Wi-Fi. These are all very, very similar in terms of the user interface. You'll notice here we have a button called Schedule. And the Schedule button really means a diary. So where I've written in my settings in the diary, we're going to transfer those into the schedule. So we press Schedule, and out of my zones, which are the areas of my house that my installer has subdivided using Evohome, I'm going to choose the master bedroom. And I'm going to click tick to say I want to choose the master bedroom. Now here we have some settings that I'm going to change to the ones that we've just discussed in my diary. So at 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to make that 8 o'clock, and I'm going to set the temperature to 20 degrees, and then I'm going to press the tick. Then at 9 o'clock, when I'm normally out of my bedroom, it's already set to 9 coincidentally, I'm going to set the temperature in my bedroom, the target temperature, way down to 11 degrees as I wrote in my diary just there. And now I'm going to warm my bedroom up again at 7:30. And I'm going to warm it up to 20 degrees again at 7:30 in the evening, PM, tick. And then finally at 11 o'clock, I'm going to make my bedroom much cooler so I can sleep comfortably overnight. In fact, I'm going to make it only 8 degrees centigrade. Now what that means is that overnight, if my bedroom drops below 8 degrees centigrade, the heating will come on and raise it to 8 degrees centigrade. But in most of our cases, you'll find the heating won't come on at all overnight, which is what most people want. Obviously everyone's different, but that's what I've chosen. So there now, you can see that at 8 o'clock, it's 20 degrees target. At 9 o'clock, we've turned the thermostat down to 11 degrees. At 7:30 in the evening, we've turned it up to 20, and at 11 o'clock at night, we've turned it down to 8 degrees. And you'll notice that the colours are representative of the temperature. Now, if we look at the top of this schedule or diary screen, we'll see there's midnight there, and midnight at the other end of that line, and it gives you an idea using colour of when the warm spots are for this room, and that's first thing in the morning, there we are, and last thing at night. The rest of the day there is absolutely no point in me wasting energy heating the master bedroom because I'm not in it. A lot of people say, how do you copy that setting to other days of the week? Well, there is a big copy button there, and you just press that, select copy this schedule to another day, and tick the days you want to run on that schedule for the master bedroom. And it really is as simple as that. That's a schedule. So now you could go back, and if you had 10 minutes spare, you could change the schedules for all the different rooms by just clicking on the room and going through the routine that I've shown you. So you can see here we have 12 rooms, which I'm hopping through with my pencil on the Evohome base unit. We can set different temperature schedules for each one. So if we look at our kitchen for a moment, we're in the kitchen most of the day. You'll see that the kitchen's warm for most of the day, but cools right down to 12.5 degrees centigrade for our dogs overnight. The Evohome system could be said to have been developed in 1996 when Honeywell brought out the Hometronic zoning system. And this is a radiator valve dating back from that time. It was in production until about 2011. Thereafter, Honeywell brought out this newer unit called an HR92. It pretty much does the same as the earlier unit you see there, but they do look a lot nicer. Now we've just set a schedule up on the Honeywell Evohome control unit, and what happens when you set a schedule is that the Evohome base unit communicates to the radiator valves and gives them the temperature that you've set for that particular time zone to the radiator valve or groups of radiator valves if you have more than one radiator in a zone. So in this particular case, this radiator valve has been set to achieve a temperature in the room of 12 degrees centigrade. Now, it's perfectly possible to go up to this radiator valve and alter that temperature. So for instance, if you were going to go in the room and you wanted it to be warmer, you could just turn it up to say 21. And if you did that, on your Evohome base unit, the target temperature on the display would start to show 21 degrees. However, when you go back to the schedule on your Evohome, you'll find that at the next time zone that you wrote in your schedule, whatever you dialed in on the front of this radiator valve would be overridden by the next time zone on the schedule. So the corollary of all this is that any temperature alterations you make on this valve are very convenient. They'll have an almost immediate effect in the room you're located in because the boiler will get turned on, the valve will open, etc. But any of those temperature settings you make on this valve or that one are temporary by nature, and the next time there's a scheduled temperature change for this room on the Evohome base unit, this valve will then forget that manual override we've just put on the valve. So now we've set the schedule for a room, and there could be 11 other zones to set. We'll just briefly go through the display panel on Evohome. You'll see that for the utility room there, it's reading 21 degrees and there's a coloured bar underneath that says 17.5 degrees. The big number, that one, is the actual real temperature currently in the utility room, and that is being sent by these clever little valves here. These are reading the temperature in the utility room at all times and transmitting it into that little window there for the utility room. However, the interesting bit is the coloured band underneath. That's telling me that right now in the schedule or the diary setting that we looked at, the utility room should be at 17.5 degrees. And I can tell you that the reason the utility room is actually warmer than that is because the washer dryer is working in there and it's warmed the room up. So those colour bars underneath the actual temperatures are the actual temperatures we've asked the room to get to. Those are the targets for Evohome at this point in time, which is 9:08 p.m. So as you probably guessed, this is the Evohome I've got in my own house. I started out with Hometronic in 2003, and I've migrated to Evohome as soon as it came out. In fact, this unit's a pre-production prototype, and it's still working. So it's about 3 years old now, this unit I'm showing you. To be honest, the Mark III Evohome is so similar to the Mark II, I can't be bothered to reprogram it and put a Mark III in, because they are so similar. Maybe the Mark IV will be more exciting, in which case I might be bothered to get one out of the box and reprogram it. But because we're fitting over a couple of hundred of these a year, frankly, if I don't have to program another one, I probably won't mind. So that's the fascia of Evohome. Now, what would we do if we wanted to override these settings that we've put in here? Well, the answer is we'd either go to a radiator valve and turn the knob on the top, just there. Or, more easily, we'd just go to the front of the Evohome and say, make the lounge 22 degrees right now. So I'll go like that. I would set it to 22 degrees. I would select a time until that setting expires. So I'm going to make that 9:30 and press tick. And now you will see on the display, I'll turn the temperature up in the lounge just temporarily to 22 degrees. And at 9:30 tonight, it will forget all about that. And that's called an override. So people do get confused between the override and the schedule. The schedule at the bottom there is the sort of diary settings you'll put in for each zone, and you'll pretty much keep them the same all year round once you've got them the way you want them. The overrides are just temporary things by pressing the buttons for the individual rooms. So if you've wondered what the difference is between Evohome and these various other systems out there that claim to things like Hive, Nest, etc. The difference is that Evohome actually divides your house into a load of different zones, and it will save you money because you're only heating your house in the areas where it requires it. Whereas with all those other systems, they're just an extension of a simple rheostat that controls the whole house and frankly wastes loads of energy. So Honeywell had the answer to all this in 1996, and we kind of laugh when we see these so-called modern pretenders coming along, because actually they're years behind what Honeywell had in 96, and they're certainly years behind what Honeywell have got now. I'm not particularly wedded to Honeywell products, but I have to say I think Evohome is so far ahead of all the competition today in 2016 that there's no point in me fitting anything else. So what about hot water? Well, you'll see in the corner here, if you've got a Honeywell Evohome that has been installed to control your hot water, and that would normally mean that you have a hot water cylinder of some sort, you get a hot water button there. And the hot water button's pretty straightforward. It shows the temperature of the water in the hot water cylinder, and there's a little blue or red blob on the lower left-hand corner that tells you whether the hot water is meant to be on at the moment or whether it's meant to be off. So if we click that hot water button, you'll see at the moment it's on until 11 o'clock tonight. Now, you'll also notice there's an edit schedule button. So if we click that and we confirm the tick box there, you'll see that in my house the hot water's set to come on at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's set to go off at 9:30 in the morning. It's set to come on again at midday, go off at 1, and so on. So it comes on and off 3 times a day. How do we set the actual hot water target temperature? Well, to do that, we can go into the engineering menu. Now, it's worthwhile pointing out here that the engineering menu is a place where the owner of an Evohome system would not normally go, but there is one setting here that you may want to change, so we'll just show you that. So if we press the settings button, but this time for 5 seconds, we're going to set the hot water stored temperature. So if you hold it for 5 seconds, it takes you into a special engineering menu called System Configuration, and in System Configuration there's Parameter Settings, and in Parameter Settings there's hot water parameters. And here there's a button called hot water temperature, and you will see that my hot water temperature has been set to max out at 55 degrees centigrade. Why 55 degrees centigrade? Well, if you live in a hard water area, temperatures above 65 degrees centigrade precipitate limescale from the water. So frankly, if you heat your water above 65C regularly, you will have a hot water cylinder in a hard water area that's full of limescale in the bottom, and it'll have very furry internals and no good will come of it. So on the other hand, if you turn the water temperature down in your hot water cylinder, you really don't want to go below 55 degrees centigrade, because there's this nasty thing called Legionella bacteria, and below 55 degrees centigrade the Legionella bacteria can propagate. So we can be reasonably confident that 55 degrees and upwards that the Legionella bacteria gets killed off. Doesn't like hot water. So anyway, that's set to 55. You can change it if you want, but as I would suggest you put it somewhere between 55 and 65 degrees centigrade. So my hot water there, it's 23 degrees at the moment, and that is because my daughter is having one of her extended showers at the moment. When she's finished, that temperature will start to climb as the boiler replenishes the heating of the hot water. We have the quick actions button. Now the quick action button is very useful. I'll show you a couple of examples. It's very aptly named. It allows you to do a sort of global thing across all the zones by pressing one button. So we'll press quick actions, and the one we use most of all is this one at the top. It's called economy, and it reduces all room temperatures by 3 degrees. So if I press economy, you'll notice we get a button saying it changes to saying it's in economy, and you'll notice that the temperatures for all our zones have been turned down by 3 degrees, our target temperatures. Now this is very good on an unexpectedly mild day in the winter. So if the sun's streaming in through the windows, you're feeling really warm and hot, but it isn't actually as warm as you thought, the human body likes a bit of solar gain on it. You just press the economy button, you will save a substantial amount of oil or gas, depending on what you use in your boiler, and you'll feel just as comfortable. But when the night creeps on or the sun goes in and you start to feel cold, just press that economy button again to cancel it, and everything immediately goes back to normal and follows your schedule again at the original temperatures. That's pretty clever, and we use that all the time. There are other quick actions. For instance, you can set your away temperature. So if you went away, you can set like a setback temperature that turns the hot water off. You'll see there, hot water's off, and it turns all the temperatures down to 15 degrees. Now most of our customers say, well, if I go away, I don't want all my temperatures at 15 degrees at that. Seems quite hard to me, and there is a reason for this, but I'll be inclined to agree with them. And if you go away for short periods, you could certainly make that away temperature lower. The question is, how do you do it? Well, the answer is you go into this magical little button here called settings, and you just press that, and there's a quick actions button here, which basically defines what happens when you press the quick actions button on the front screen. So we're going to go in there, and it says away, and it says what's the away temperature. So we can turn that right down to say 10 degrees. There we are, just a tick. And now our away temperature is now preset at 10 degrees. Whoopie-doo. So if we go back to the start again, to home, you'll see that if I now press quick actions, having made that change, if I go to quick actions because I've decided I'm going to go away, I press the away button, and whoopie-doo, all the zones get turned down to 10 degrees and the hot water gets turned off. And now I'm going to come back from holiday and cancel it. There we go, back to normal. One other thing you can do with this before I go is you can press the quick actions button. You're going away on holiday, instead of just pressing the away button, you can hold it down. And if you did that, it actually asks you when you're coming back. And you can alter that day, so it will go back to normal maybe in a day of your choice. So for instance, if I was going away until Tuesday the 6th of December, here we go, we're away for 3 days. Unfortunately, my holiday's been cancelled, so I'm now going to cancel my away setting. Now, everything I've shown you, apart from the hot water secret menu in the engineering system menu is accessible from an iPhone or an iPad or an Android device connected to this machine. So most of these settings, including the schedule, you can set up from your iPhone on a room by room basis. So once again, how does this alter from a hive or a nest or one of the millions of other alternatives or so-called alternatives? Well, the answer is, unlike those so-called alternatives, this one allows you to subdivide your house into 12 zones, and by doing that you could easily save 30% of your fuel bill. You could also enjoy having certain rooms in the house at a much higher temperature than you currently do, because you're not wasting money heating the whole rest of the house while you're doing it. So basically this is like putting 12 thermostats in your house, full internet control, and a kind of menu scheduling system, all in one. It's just fabulous. And I say my company, probably 1 in 2 boiler installations my company do, we fit this system. And I'll try really hard to get the other half to have one as well. But we think it's not the future, because it's the past. It was designed in 1996. It was just years ahead of its time. And this new modern interface that it has, and the unparalleled ease of use, just makes this thing so easy to use. So I hope you've enjoyed our walkthrough. My name's Simon Davies. Our company is Hot Water and Central Heating Limited, and our website is hwch.co.uk. Thank you for watching.